So it's early April 2012, and southern Vietnam is starting to hear about Typhoon Pakar. Now, it's unusual for a typhoon to make landfall in southern Vietnam. It usually just veers off the Philippines. The poor Philippines, they get hit so often. But it hits the Philippines and then veers north. So it's really rare that a typhoon actually makes it to southern Vietnam. But there's talk that this one will, and it does. Well, Ho Chi Minh City is pretty far inland, so we aren't going to be too affected by any wave surge. The ocean isn't really going to impact us, but the rain and the wind will. The typhoon hit sometime, I can't quite remember, but it was maybe midday on a weekend. And you think, all right, great, everyone's home, it's the weekend. English teachers in Vietnam have to work weekends, because that's when most of the students are taking their lessons. Through the day, they're at regular school, and then during the weekday, after school, they're in 1,000 other types of lessons. Sometimes English, sometimes a music lesson, sometimes something else. They're always busy. But most of them are taking their English lessons on the weekends. So us English teachers would have to teach weekends. That was fine. We just had a couple long days. Not too big of a deal. But we were starting to get worried as the, 8-floor building that we were working in with large plate glass windows on the outside was getting hit by the rain and the wind. We're watching the rain and the wind hit these windows as we're cheerily teaching vocab flashcards to students and playing games to learn with conversation, just trying to be I hope we can make it home. It's getting worse out there. Yay! Tomato. Alright. Well, we finish our shifts, we finish our day, and we start heading down to the garage. Luckily, this center, because there were many centers across this place had a monopoly. This company had a monopoly on teaching English, and they had centers across the city. And this one was pretty far away from my house. In Ho Chi Minh City, the city is broken up into districts. And I lived in District 1. I was teaching in District 6. It's a good 20-minute commute to get from home to work and vice versa. So I knew I needed to get downstairs pretty quickly. So I hustled downstairs and down to the parking garage. I opened my seat and I pulled out that thin poncho that I bought at some point on the side of the road because I needed an emergency poncho. And I pulled it on over my dress, over my backpack, put on my flip-flops, and started driving out into the wind and rain of Typhoon Pakar. Our next storyteller is Liz. I'm so happy she's here. She was actually recommended by one of our former first storytellers, Helen, who started us off back in October. So Helen is here. Please give another round of applause for Helen, our very first storyteller. She sent Liz our way, and Liz immediately emailed me her story. She's like, this is what I have to say. And I went, holy fuck, you need to get on stage. This woman is an inspiration to every single writer out there. She has spent years writing Pillion, but all of those years going, I need to write myself. And at age 57, she took her first motorcycle safety course and has been writing solo ever since. And my God, does she have a story to tell you? And I'm just going to get going. Liz Jacobs, thank you for being here.
And it's true, I do ride on my own now. I have a Triumph 900 Tiger. But this story is a little different. I am a pillion in this story. And it starts this way. So I was hanging off the left side of the motorcycle, and water was pelting my face shield. And I was doing a best Annie Oakley Buffalo Bill interpretation that I could. I-40 was running 60 miles an hour underneath us. The water was being split by the tires. And my rain-soaked, gloved hand was reaching forward to my riding partner's pant leg, and I was trying to zip up the air pocket on his pants leg. Now, my riding partner, Buffalo Bill, and my husband of 40 years, was standing on the foot pegs of our GS motorcycle doing this. Because rain was just dripping into his legs, and he wanted me to zip up the pants. So I managed to zip it up, and we were on our way. Now, why, you might ask, didn't you just pull over and stop and zip up the pants in the rain? And I'll get to that. But first, when I heard Helen tell me about this blah, blah, blah motorcycle thing, I thought, man, that is like super fantastic to tell stories. And for 40 years, Buffalo Bill and I have been riding, and either solo or two up, and we've weathered a lot of weather together. So I could have told like the first story when I was 1979 down at U of I, and I first put my leg over his 350 Honda motorcycle. I had brand new blue jeans on. I had my student ID card from U of I in my back pocket. I think I put his helmet on, I can't remember. And at that time, the student ID had raised letters for your name and your social security number. It was printed on the card. This is like before the internet. So we're gonna take a ride. Maybe I've ridden 2 or 3 times now on the motorcycle, and a light rain had just kind of coated the street. And we're heading out very kind of slowly and nice, and we're gonna make a left turn, and that's when I learned that like oil and water from rain, they don't mix. So as we are turning left, that back tire goes out and the little 350 Honda goes down, and I'm sliding along, my butt on the ground, and that social security number gets actually ingrained in the back pocket of my jeans. So I could tell that story more, or I could tell the story about, like we were really poor, and we didn't have a car, and we had to drive from DeKalb, Illinois to Wooddale, and it was cold. It was like March. We were actually going to a Methodist church to learn about how to be married, because you had to like go through marriage classes back then. I don't know if they do that now, but back at that time you had to. And we couldn't be late, so we put on snowmobile suits and had snowmobile boots on, and we were riding, and like some of the others here, we were actually riding through the snow. So I could tell about that, but that's another story. But then I could tell about last year in 2021 when we went on this wonderful event called the Amazing Challenge in Wisconsin, and I was on my Triumph, and Buffalo Bill was on his GS, and he was going to go right, and I was going to go left on this route, and we had 10 hours, and then we'd come back to the hotel and celebrate with all these great people. And as we're walking out the hotel door to get to the bikes, Buffalo Bill looks at his phone, and he looking at the radar, and he says to me, well, you've ridden and stuff like this before, but just be careful. And I look at the phone, and on the left where I'm going, it's just like green and orange and red and yellow, and there's just rain everywhere, and I head off, and he heads to the right, and I head to the left into the storms, and I'm riding through the driftless area of Wisconsin, and lightning's coming down. I'm afraid for the cows in the fields. We get struck by lightning. 10 hours later, I come back. He's nice and dry. I'm just like wringing my gloves out. I'm soaked. But the story I want to tell you is really about the mother of all rides. So there we are on I-40 outside of Albuquerque, New Mexico, and I just did my Annie Oakley impression. We had, at that point, done 6,252 miles in 8 days on a thing called the Iron Butt Rally. And this is why we couldn't stop, because on this rally, which is dubbed as the world's toughest motorcycle road rally, you just ride. You ride 1,800 miles a day for 11 days, and you try to acquire a certain number of points in order to become a finisher. Now, somewhere in our crazy minds, we thought, after 40 years, well, we're tough, aren't we? Maybe we should try this on our summer vacation. And crazily enough, we got accepted in to do this in 2021, the hottest summer recorded just about in the United States, and also a summer very much of forest fires that were springing up all over the country. So somehow we got accepted to do this 2-up. And so we left Provo, Utah with about 90 other motorcyclists in this rally. And we rode from Utah through Idaho. We rode through a forest fire in Montana with glowing logs and smoke still coming up. We rode through Montana. We got buffeted by wind in North Dakota. We rode up to Hibbing, Minnesota, came down through Minnesota, through St. Paul, through Wisconsin, turned at Elgin, Illinois, headed toward Indiana, went up to Michigan, back down to Indiana, across Ohio, across Pennsylvania. We touched Maryland. We came down Virginia, West Virginia. We went to North Carolina. We went out to the Outer Banks and touched the Atlantic Ocean. We turned around. We came west through Tennessee, through Kentucky, down into Huntsville, Alabama, up through Tennessee to Hot Springs, Arkansas, across Oklahoma, across Texas, and that was 8 days. And now we're in Albuquerque. And the challenge was we were doing really good up until Huntsville. And when we got to Huntsville, we made a little mistake. We had 2 of them. 1, we didn't check the weather. Number 2, we went the wrong way. We made a little navigation error. Everybody else leaving that parking lot kind of went north and east, and we went west, because you all do your own kind of routes, trying to collect how many points. Now, it really wasn't a mistake, but by the time we got to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and clouds were looming all around us, we also realized that the navigation that we had did was wrong. We weren't going to be able to get to the points that we needed to at the time that we needed to, and suddenly we went from middle of the pack to not having enough points to be finisher. And this was depressing, because we'd spent 2 years trying to get ready for this big event. And here we're facing where we don't know what we're going to be able to do. The clouds came around us, and after Hot Springs, Arkansas, it started raining, and raining, and raining, and raining. 800 miles through the rain. And now we're heading toward Albuquerque. When we were in Amarillo, Texas, Buffalo Bill and I talked a little bit, and we said, maybe this isn't the best thing to do. Maybe we should drop out, because this is really tough. It's really hard. We were tired. We've been 6,000 miles plus. So Albuquerque's in front of us. It's still raining. We've now ridden through 800 miles of rain. And I'm on the back of the bike now, because I'm the navigator, and I'm texting our one son in Colorado. Now he's watching us because we're being tracked by satellites during this rally. He's watching us and he's seeing the weather, and I text and I say, I think we're going to drop out. I think we're going to be one of the 12 to 15% of people who bail out of this rally and do not finish. So up until that point, only about 600 people in the world had actually finished this rally, and they've been running it since the 1990s. So this was a big deal for us to try and finish this rally. So I'm waiting for a reply from my son, and he's very loving to us. 30-something, knows everything. My other son, don't tell him I said that. And he texts back, he says, you and Dad are old. And you're not getting any younger, and you may not be around long enough to ever get a chance to run this rally again. So you better just keep going and keep riding it, even if you don't get enough points to say that you finished it. And he had a point. We aren't young. We're not 40. And it only runs every 2 years, and you're not guaranteed ever getting picked again, especially if you DNF. So now we're almost to Albuquerque, our decision point. And we're at a gas stop, and I'm waiting for Buffalo Bill to tell me what does he want to do. He's the pilot, right? So our safety is in his hands. And he turns to me and he says, "Where to next?" And I think, this is it. We're committed. We're going. We're going to go forward. Now, back in Oklahoma City, when the rain had been so bad at about 10 o'clock at night, it forced us off the road and into a hotel. My husband took some needed rest time, and I spent about 2 hours on the computer rerouting us, thinking, can I pull this out of the hat? Can we do this? Can we get the 80,000 points that we need to be a finisher? Because we had no hope left. So he doesn't know yet, and he says, "Where to next?" And I say, "Well, California." Now, anybody who looks at a map knows that California and New Mexico do not share a border. There's this little thing in between called Arizona. And the only way we could figure out that we could get enough points to be a finisher and finish in time in 11 days total was to ride all the way through Arizona, almost nonstop, never pick up a point, and start picking up points again in California. So back on the bike we go. And I feel like, okay, maybe we're going to do this. And it's raining, and we're riding through all of New Mexico. And we hit Arizona. It's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and riding. And it's raining in Arizona. Where do you get rain in Arizona? But it's raining. And now it's like about 8:30, 9 o'clock at night, and we're right at Winslow, Arizona. And we need a gas stop. So we pull into the gas station, and the rain is letting up a little bit. Maybe Mother Nature is having a little mercy on us. And I'm coming out of the bathroom, walking back to the bike. And over the bike, literally, is a rainbow. And for the first time in 4 days, I think, maybe we can do this. Maybe Mother Nature's going to let us live. So we get back on the bike and we start riding through the night because we still have to keep going. And we stop in Williams, Arizona, right by the Grand Canyon. Get about 5 hours sleep, get up in the morning, it's 4 a.m. Doug says, "Well, where in California are we going?" And I look at the GPS because I'm navigator now. And I look at the word, and I'm starting to think I should have paid more attention to geography in 3rd grade. And I say, "Well, it says Mojave, California." California doesn't have deserts, does it? Is it like Mojave in Africa someplace? I thought California just had beachfront. So we get back on the bike, and now we are headed into the desert. And first it's like 90 degrees at 4 in the morning. Now it's 95, 97, 98, 104. We're in California. I see a sign that says 180 miles to Los Angeles. And I go, holy crap. I was at the Atlantic Ocean like 3.5 days ago, and now I'm by the Pacific. What the heck are we doing? It's 104. Now, when you're old, as my son pointed out, you have the advantage of being able to talk to many, many smarter people than you are who motorcycle. And Buffalo Bill had a conversation one time, long time ago, about a man who ran through the desert, and what saved him was ice. So we pull off to the first gas station. I jump off the bike. I'm in full Aero Stitch gear. I got my helmet on. It's so hot you don't want to open the face shield because it's like a blast furnace. People are in shorts and flip-flops and tank tops, and I run into the gas station. I throw my credit card on the counter, and I say, 2 bags of ice and all the water I can carry. And I come out to the parking lot, and people are looking at us, and I'm shoving ice down the back of Doug's Klein jacket pocket. And he's shoving it down my Aero Stitch, and I'm putting it in the front, and I'm putting it in my mouth and in my pockets and practically in my ears, just to try to be cool. And we pour water into the water bladder, and we get on the bike. We're like the Michelin Men. We're just stuck there, could hardly move. And off we go. Hour and a half passes by. Ice is gone, pull off to the gas station, slap that credit card down, get more ice, and we do that for 8 hours. So we pass Fresno, we're up the spine on California 99, going up California, and it's like run of the Dan Ryan in rush hour, man. There's trucks everywhere, and we're going and stopping, and we actually see the beginnings of the forest fires that we all read about and heard about in California that year. We see the smoke coming up. We get to Sacramento and we turn east. And about 11:30 at night, we stopped at Coloma, California, where the gold rush started. That was one of our bonus points. And we get some sleep. So it's 11:30, and now it's 4 in the morning. We wake up, it's day 10. We have to be back by 8 a.m. on day 11. We have 800 plus miles to go. And we want to be back by about 1 o'clock in the morning on day 11. So we have a little cushion between that and 8 a.m. So we get over the mountains, and Mother Nature is nice to us. It's cool. It's like 95 degrees now. And we go over the mountains, and now we're in Reno, Nevada, and we're riding through the casinos, and we pick up a bonus where Levi jeans were first made. And so that was one of our bonuses. And we get out of Reno, and now we're in Nevada, and we're riding and riding and riding. And I have a recommendation. If you ever get a chance to ride through Nevada, don't. There's nothing out there, maybe a rabbit, but it is just hot. And we're riding and we're riding and we're riding, and now it's about 4 o'clock in the afternoon and we hit Utah. And we're like Provo, Utah, where we have to get to, is in sight. We can feel it in us. And we're riding and riding, and now it's 7 o'clock at night, it's a Friday night, and people are on the salt flats. And they're racing their vehicles and having fun. And we're riding and riding and riding. And now it's 9 o'clock, 9:30. We've done 8,300 or 400 miles. We've got a few more to go. And it's day 10. Now, when you've been married for 40 years, this is the part where I cry. When you've been married for 40 years, you don't have to talk a lot to each other. You just kind of are on the bike. But I see some clouds around us, there's a little rain coming, and the sun that goes on. And I know he's going to ask me a question. He says, are we going to be okay? Because he had never asked back in Oklahoma City when I rerouted whether we'd have enough points to be a finisher. And I look, and honest to God, this is really what happened. A rainbow showed up. And I said, yes, we're going to be okay. And we were. Thank you.
Okay, those of you who were at the first event knew I didn't hold it together at all. I was very proud of myself for holding it together until now. Didn't I tell you, holy fuck, wasn't her story going to be amazing? Yeah, as soon as I read about her stuffing ice down her onesie on the road, I was like, she's got to be on the stage. Amazing. Congratulations. Truly an inspiration.